we have so with that being said, I'm going to introduce the Speaker of Loveliness tonight, Anthony A.
Good.
Up to you.
Sorry, just like the
Fiddle.
okay.
Hey, Anthony.
So, give myself a minute to ask my higher power to come speak. You guys don't really don't want to hear from me.
Aww.
Anthony, addict.
Anthony, welcome.
Okay. A little bit about myself. I'm a little bit of a late bloomer. In my early days, I come from a pretty decent family. My parents are still together today. Nobody in my family is really an addict. I didn't know what it was. Raised in a Catholic family growing up, so it was kind of like military school from 3 years old and on. Chores every day, extra schoolwork every day, and it would never end. It was just like mowing lawns, weeding gardens, vacuuming, washing windows, doing extra workbooks, in the summer to try and get ahead for school. And whenever I went out to play with the kids, whenever I was allowed to, friends in the neighborhood or whatever, I never really fit in. And I think looking back, it was because, you kind of had to practice how to fit in and make friends. And I never really got good at that because I was so busy doing other stuff. As life progressed and continued, grades were super important to my parents, chores, staying active. I mean, TV was like a no-go in the household. And it started to kind of manifest itself, what was going on, like late in high school. It's like, okay, I'm getting all straight A's. I'm really good at sports. I'm starting to see, okay, college, I might get it for free. I got a few options on the table. And it was kind of like, it was starting to make sense a little bit why my parents were being the way they were. And senior year of high school, I tore my ACL, beginning of the soccer season. And it was like everything I worked so hard for, it was like taken away from me. And that's a pretty extensive surgery for a high school kid to go through. And I was laying in bed for like a month trying to recover. And texting had just come out. And I'm texting all the other kids, and I'm just like wondering, what it was like to go party or whatever, or go out, because I just stayed away from that. My parents had me convinced, if you do one marijuana, Anthony, and you're allergic, you're going to die. Like, that was the kind of household I grew up in. And day 2, I had these pain meds, after ACL reconstruction surgery, and my mom tried to take them away from me, saying I was going to get addicted to them. I was so naive. I had this cast that circulated cold water underneath the cast. And I thought that was what was making me feel really good all the time. And after she took those away, I learned real quick what it was and what it was not. And I was like, okay, they lied about this. They told me it was the cast. Now, maybe I do need these pills to get... And I'm like, wait a minute. What about all this other stuff the kids are talking about? So I started texting people, and they're like, dude, we're trying to tell you. And so as soon as I got out and, 18, 19 years old, I started making up for lost time. And I went out, balls to the wall, everything I could. First time I got drunk, I was 20 years old, and I remember rolling around on the floor in somebody's random house, giggling after like 2 shots. Like, it was just the best feeling in the world of just being able to laugh, let loose, and everybody else was giggling, and it didn't feel like they were laughing at me. It felt like we're all laughing together, and woke up the next morning, and it was good times, but everybody was like, dude, you're such a lightweight. What does that mean? Dog, we were like done like 15 minutes into the night. I was like, yeah, it was so much fun. And then I don't want to like get made fun of. And so in sports, and if you're trying to study for something, what do you do to get better at something? You practice. So that's what I did. I started practicing with my parents' stuff every night as much as I could. I would just steal all of it and continue drinking until I passed out. And that didn't go too well with my parents, being strict, and at 20, and, they kicked me out. And I remember something that night. My dad told me, he looked me in the eyes and was like, this is the hardest thing I'll ever have to do. I was just like, bullshit. And I left. And, it was just, it felt like such a betrayal to my parents. To me, that my parents would just kick me out over, me trying to explore, having fun or whatever. And I went out on my own, and it just went downhill fast. 2-3 years after just doing this every night, just getting whatever my hands on, Steel Reserve, 211s, going over somebody else's house, stealing their stuff, whatever it was, it started to catch up. I remember like shaking uncontrollably going into work every morning, and I would have to drink to get that, under control a little bit before I showed up to work. And one of my buddies was just like, I was sitting there and I couldn't work. I was just so hungover from years of this. And he was like, dude, why don't you try some of this? You need to like wake up some. And I was like, what is it? And it was ADD meds. And I was like, how many do I take? He was like, just take all of these. Give me like 4 And I was up for like 48 hours just cleaning, just going. Like I felt like on top of the fucking world. Like I was just like, this is it. Like this is life's answers. I can do anything. I could get a doctor's degree tomorrow. It was just like, amazing, that feeling. And I like loved it. And I was like, okay, this is it. I take this in the morning and then I do this at night. And I'll be able to do everything I can. And that continues. And, it turns into weeks without sleep. It turns into not eating anymore. And it turns into just hallucinating. It turns into a lot of stuff that isn't good for you. And I didn't recognize, none of us really recognized the damage we're doing to others around us, but I kept getting kicked out of place after place. And I ended up back home with my parents. And I got fired from the job I was working at. And I had this habit that I was like buying every month, all this stuff to keep up with it. But now I don't work at the job. I just stock shelves at Walmart or whatever gig I can find. So I started stealing. And I started stealing from, the people who loved me the most. Because in my addict's mind, they would forgive me. And I could get away with doing it again. I didn't want to go steal from a store or from somebody I didn't know because I might go to jail. But, family members, friends, that's where it was at. So that's what I did. And I remember one time, my parents were getting ready to go out of town. I went in my mom's purse. I didn't know they were going out of town. I just took a credit card. I wanted to go to like Harris Teeter and get boxed wine. Just so like when they looked, they wouldn't tell from the receipt what was going on. I could kind of hide it. And then they went out of town, and I still had the credit card, and they were gone for like a week. And I was like, fuck, I know I'm not going to have control over this. So I ran it up, doing whatever I did, and then I tried to sneak it back in her purse. Didn't work. Didn't have an opportunity to. My dad texted me. Was like, yo, what's up with mom's credit card? I just felt this rage inside of me build. Like it was, it wasn't my fault that I was like this, that I stole their credit card. It was their fault because they had money. They could support me. This, that, and the other. Why? Why? And it was just so anger, and so much anger that built up inside of me. And I went back to the house, and I threw the credit card at him, and I'm like screaming and yelling at him, cussing him up and down. And I expected him to be pissed off. My dad's taller than I am. He could probably kick my ass today, and he's 66 years old. And he wasn't mad. He wasn't pissed off. None of that. And I remember looking him in his eyes, and I thought he was about to cry. Like he was sad. Like it felt like he just wanted to ask me, like, what did I do wrong? Why are you like this? What is going on? And it was at that point it hit me like, what the fuck am I doing? It started out, I had all these scholarships and stuff, and I just felt like it got taken away from me, and God was mad at me, and I didn't deserve it. And then now it's like 6-7 years down the road, and I got nothing to show for myself. Like I'm living with my parents and just stealing from my little sister and my mom. What the fuck happened? And I left. All of that happened so fast. And I drove and texted me. He said, all I wanted you to do was apologize and give mom back her card. And it was just like, I knew there was no way out at that point. Like I was stuck. I was going to be like this forever, and I better learn to live with it. And it was just a long, hopeless road of just, what do I do? It took another couple of years before I finally said those magic words, like, I need help. And I remember crying. I got fired from Walmart for like the second time, laying on the floor of my parents' house, and it was just like, I felt like I wanted to die. My skin was turning yellow, bloodshot eyes. I hadn't slept, eaten, nothing. And, I asked for help, and I went and got some help. And went to my first meeting. And they told me in that meeting, you can never use again. You can never do this again. Or do this. Somebody told me, you don't have to do it forever. You just have to do it for today. And that seemed manageable. It was like, okay, maybe I can get one day clean. Maybe I can get one day, and just do this for long enough until something else happens. And I went to another meeting and another meeting. And I started to feel a little bit better. Relapsed about a month in because I wanted just one more. Like I started feeling a little bit better, and I wanted one more. And I was like, okay, I'll have this one more, and then I'll be done. Didn't work that way at all. That turned into, luckily, it was only a 6-day bender, and it was straight back to where I was. Got back into the meetings, and I was like beaten up. I was done. I was like, okay, maybe I really can't do it. Started taking suggestions. Got a home group. Got a service position. Got a what was I doing? The first service position I had, I was greeting people outside one of the churches, and you start to see yourself a little bit valuable. About 2 months into it, one of the higher up people, I guess, elders in the NA meeting or whatever, came up. It was just like, he was the one who opened up the meeting. He had his shit together. Like, people looked up to him. I felt like he had never done anything before. And he called me, and he was like, Anthony, called the Oxford office because I didn't have a cell phone at first. And he was like, hey, you know where the key is at, right? Hidden? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, can you show up to the church early and set up the meeting for me? And I'm like, yeah. Why can't you? Am I allowed? And he was like, yeah, I'm just having a terrible day. And I was like, okay. So I showed up, set up all the chairs. I did everything perfect. And he showed up there about mid-meeting, and he came straight up to me, and he looked like ghost face. Like he had a rough day. And he looked me in the eyes and said, thank you saved me today. I had not felt that feeling in years. Like feeling like I was worth something after years of feeling not good enough, like a failure. Like I'd come to accept that I was just going to be good for nothing. Like I have a little sister, I have cousins who are younger than me, and I had chalked up the hopelessness to I'm just going to be a bad example to all of these people looking up to me. That's all I can do, because that's the way life worked out for me. I'm 20 years old. I just decided, I accepted that I was going to throw my life away, and that was it. That's what the disease got me to do. And I had every tool, every avenue, everything given to me growing up. That's how dangerous this freaking disease is. And he looked at me and he said, thank you. And suddenly it was just like I was worth something again. Like all I did was show up. And God, that feeling of what trumped anything I had felt and, my using days, anything, it was magical. And I felt like, okay, maybe there is something to this program. And I continued doing service work and the recovery houses that I was in. I continued doing NA stuff. And I remember trying to get a job in my old career field. And I went in there for an interview and I was stoked. I was excited. I didn't have to work. I was working at Walmart again. People are so fucking over me now. And I was just like, I can make real money. I can do this because at the same time, I'm kind of comparing myself to everybody I went to school with. I'm looking at social media. These people got houses and shit, and I'm living in a recovery house. What the fuck am I doing? And I wanted to do something with my life. I bypassed all the college, I got nothing. I'm just working a dead end job. And I went in for the interview and they were like, we're going to bring you on board. And it was, doing construction inspection, which, has potential for growth in that field. And they were like, we're going to get you a truck. Back in 2014, we're going to get you $15 an hour, which is enough to move out, a laptop, benefits, all kinds of stuff. And I was like, yes. And I went back home and I was waiting for the email to come for the offer letter. And I waited a week, 2 weeks, and it never fucking came. And I called them and I was like, hey, what's going on? And they said, VDOT went on a hiring freeze. We can't bring you on right now. Sorry. And it was just that disappointment that I felt so early on in recovery of just nothing good's going to happen. I had torn my ACL and those feelings of, why do I even try? That's what came back to me. And it just felt like, why the fuck am I even doing this? Why? I'm not getting anything. What's the point? I went to a meeting. I cried. I called people. I took the suggestions. And they said, just give it, just do the next right thing, Anthony. Just one more day. That's it. And I was just kind of got my shit back together. Billy, who's around here somewhere, gave me a landscaping job 10 years ago. And it's really hard to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning and go do labor after for $6 an hour, whatever it was back then, after, you get that job offer. But I went and did it. I struggled through it. I was like, I see these people at these meetings, like the lawyer that I helped out and other people, and it's like, they had to have gone through this kind of stuff. And I kept pushing. And 9 months later, VDOT lifted that hiring freeze and I got that job. And it was just like, okay, maybe this is going to work out. And the thing that I learned at that point was failure is okay in these rooms. Giving up is not. You know, if you're not failing or trying to do better, you know, or doing, if you're not failing, you're not trying. That's basically it. You know, if you're not making mistakes and coming up against, you know, brick walls and hurdles or shit that's out of your control, you know, you're not trying. You're just sitting comfortable. And that's not my recovery. My recovery is you got to keep pushing and trying to grow. Otherwise, I'll get stagnant and something will sneak up and take me the fuck back out. That's, you know, fast forward about 6 or 7 years, you know, I had it all. I finally had a house, I had a couple cars, I worked my way up in the position I was in, and I was getting ready to get married. And I was traveling full time for work, you know, seeing Manhattan, Maryland, Miami, and I was in Pensacola, Florida, and work's paying for all of this shit. And it was just, it was a great life. It was perfect. And, you know, my fiance called me at the time and was like, you know what, I'm going to leave you. I'm done. We're not working out. And she left. And, you know, I had a dog at the time. She took the dog. I let her because, yeah. You know, I had a pit bull and she had a golden retriever, and they met and they were bonded, you know, for 2 years. And she worked at home and I was traveling hotel to hotel full time, and I thought that was the best decision for the dog. And because of my recovery, I was able to make that decision in the moment and not scream and yell. That doesn't mean I didn't stay up every night like, I'm going to go get my fucking dog back. I'm going to knock on her door. I'm going to call the cops on her. Just vengeful thoughts that I didn't act on. You know, my sponsor tells me he never got in trouble for a bank he thought about robbing. It's okay to have those thoughts. Just don't act on them. And I was in a hotel room by myself in a city I didn't know anybody, and I had all my bills were paid, and I had money in the bank, and it was just like those same fucking feelings again of just not feeling good enough. Like that, you know, it's been years now. It was 7 years at the time, and I ended up right back here with these same feelings of it's just not going to work out. Like, you're not meant to have good things, Anthony. And I had to call people. I had to call people and just cry and just let it out. And I looked up, you know, NA in that area, and they had like a little chili cook-off, redneck Pensacola area. That's what they did. And I went out there, and I didn't know these people. None of them had met me before. And I just shared. They had speakers there. It was like a speaker jam chili cook-off, and I like raised my hand and shared when they were supposed to have a speaker, and just rocking it. And you know, they stayed with me. It was supposed to end mid-afternoon. They stayed with me till like 9 o'clock that night in that park, and like did not leave my side. And it was just, I was trying is what it was. I was trying to not pick up my life, and God was looking out. You know, this program has shown up for me for years. So I came back home, kind of recovered a little bit, met a buddy of mine. His name was Chris, and he had like the most contagious laugh in the world. And everybody loved him. And he would come over to my house every day. You know, I was working from home, and he would come over and he'd like do stuff at the house. And me and him became quickly best friends. And he started dating one of my other best friends. And it was like we were two peas in a pod. And one day I get a call from, you know, the girl he was dating. And she was like, Chris isn't answering his phone. And I was like giving her so much shit. Because me and the fiance had just split. And I was like, see what it's like? See what it's like when they don't answer the phone right away? And he started getting... And Anthony, I'm really worried about him. Can you go check on him? I live kind of close to him. And I went over there and I knocked on his apartment. It was 3 stories up, and I saw the lights were on underneath the door. And I just kind of like calling out his name and nothing. And he wasn't answering his phone. I went around the back and I was like, you know, this person's going to be so pissed off I don't try everything. And started to get a little worried at that point. So I climbed up 3 stories, broke into his window, and found him on his bed. And he was just laying there in a weird-looking position. I screamed his name. I tried shaking him, and as soon as I touched him, he was cold. And I went and got water, threw it on him. I'm smacking him. And I called 911, and 911 answered, and they were trying to, you know, walk me through bringing him back. You know, put him on the floor. As soon as I moved him, you know, he had defecated himself, and it was the worst smell I ever smelled. I thought I was going to throw up. And I remember trying to like get my shit together and like get back in there because my friend needed help. And I was like, there's no way I can fucking do this. Paramedics showed up and it was too late. He was gone. We had a celebration of life for him, and then a month later I had to go back out on the road again to Miami. And I went through depression. I went through whatever it was. There's like different forms of it. And I was in a hotel room by myself in Miami, and I didn't want to leave. But I forced myself to, because that's what the suggestions were. You know, get a therapist, talk to somebody, Anthony, go to meetings, and get the fuck out of the hotel room. And it was physically so hard to get out of bed every fucking morning. Like, it was, my feet were heavy. Like, it was every piece of me was struggling to get out of bed. But I went and did it. I went downstairs, got the free breakfast, and I went and did one thing. If I did one thing and then one meeting, I could go back and veg out the rest of the day. That was my rule. The job had got delayed. I'm still getting paid full time, so I had every excuse to just wither away and die. And you know, I gradually got in. I got a home group down there. I got a sponsor down there, and I gave myself a chance to live like I did years ago. And the program had worked for me yet again. And you know, my message is, it's supposed to hurt sometimes. It's supposed to suck. Like if you're not failing or feeling like you need to give up or like the whole world's against you, just give it another day, like another minute, another hour, whatever the fuck it is. Give yourself that chance to recover. And you know, that's like my family down there. I was down there for 18 months, and I still go down and visit those guys, and I still have the same sponsor. And you know, if I hadn't given myself that chance, I would have never met those people. The recovery down there, it's crazy. Like, you know, people come in here and talk about small town recovery, and, you know, the person, they might have one meeting a week or whatever. Down there, it's like, they have yachts, they have fucking clubs, they have, like, all kinds of shit. And I got to experience that firsthand. And it's been a roller coaster. Lately, I'm struggling with a few different things at work. You know, I work for the government, so we might all get fired tomorrow. I don't know. Let's see what's there. Yeah, it's a first world problem nowadays. That's what it is. And I sprained my ankle last time I was in Miami a couple weeks ago, and I've been trying to rehab that, and it just hurts. It's painful all the time. I can't do what I normally do, and I got to take ibuprofen around the clock. If I don't, it starts to hurt. I got. You know, work is stressful, and then, you know, the situation at work, the actual work that's going on is extremely stressful right now. And, yeah, it's just, I don't know, a lot is going on. My car's in the shop. Hopefully I pick that up this week. And I just take it one day at a time. Like, if I try, this is a lot, like I got going on right now, but I have the program down, and all I got to do is apply the program. If I need help applying it, I share about it in a meeting, and I reach out for help. And that's pretty much all I got. Thanks.